a lot to like from this one, but I couldn't narrow it down. I couldn't decide what I wanted to talk about. So initially I had planned it to be about like the Seahawks have a youth movement. The young players we were excited to see all looked really solid. However, the run game especially, I just felt really, really good about.
Yeah, I did too. It was nice to see Helani kind of set the tone out there, get the run game going, but it was more about how Kubiak called the game. Brian Walters and I joked about this, who we'll have on at 1 o'clock today. The first play of the game was a pass, right? We're talking all about the run. And the first play of the game was a pass, so we laughed about that. But after that, it was established. Ended up running the ball, 32 times for about $172, I believe. Let me pull up the box score real quick. 32 carries for $170 and 2 touchdowns. But it was the commitment to the run, the way they ran the football, the way they used the fullback to help influence linebackers. They did exactly what we thought they were going to do. You can look at the number of carries and just fall in love with that. 32 times. I understand that. They threw the ball 32 times as well. Oh, my God, 50-50. It ain't always going to end up that way. The run is there to kind of throw the jab, and that's going to be their first swing, I guess, to set everything up. And that's exactly what it did. It set up the play action. It set up the fullback getting into the pass game as well. It was just a nice, controlled game. It felt controlled, and I appreciate that. It's not always going to be that way because there are going to be times where teams are going to load the box and force you to throw the football. You got to be stubborn running it sometimes. But I saw exactly what I needed to see from the offense. It gave me an idea of what it can look like when it gets real out there.
Mike Macdonald talked about how he evaluates his team during the preseason.
As a coaching staff, there's kind of just piece it in a bunch of different things. I mean, you start how we start the game. We're going to go back and look at our warm up and see how that went. We're going to go evaluate our run defense. We're going to evaluate our third down defense on both sides of the ball. We're going to look at our punt, our field goal protection, give up extra point block. So you're kind of looking at everything, evaluating it. You're looking at it situationally, and then as a whole, how we start games, how we close games is going to be really important. And ultimately, this is like a personnel evaluation, so you're going to be watching all the guys that played and evaluating as well.
Let's talk about how we actually evaluate the preseason. I tend to just look for the simplest types of things. I think that we naturally want to be film buffs and comb through and find everything we possibly can about how Mike Macdonald's calling defensive plays, about what Klint Kubiak's offense looks like. But I think that it is going to be limited still. And you obviously are going to have quite a few starters not playing. We'll see what week 2 looks like. But certainly in week 1, you didn't. So instead, I just look for consistency and is their plan in practice translating to the games? And I think that's the 2 most encouraging things I saw. The players that look good in practice look good in the game. The things that they're trying to do in practice, like establishing the run, they were able to do in this game. That sounds so simple, and I think sometimes we try to overcomplicate analysis. That's good. That's a win from a preseason.
Yeah, I'll complicate the heck out of it, though, because I love watching film. I love breaking it all down, but you're correct. During the preseason, I'm looking more at the attempt. What are they attempting to do schematically, and then are the players able to execute it? I thought Zabel looked pretty good when he was out there. I was surprised to see Abe Lucas out there as long as he was out there, but then it makes sense. He's been banged up. He's got to feel and reestablish himself and get that confidence that his knee and his body is going to hold up. That was fun to watch. Love seeing the tight ends get active in the pass game and in the run game. It was verification that there is going to be a commitment to the run offensively. And I think that was important. It was verification that play action is going to be big in this game. It was verification that everyone out there who is a skill guy who can touch the football will touch the football. Fullback had a reception. Running back had a reception or multiple receptions. The wideouts, the tight ends. It was someone described the offense as democratic. I forgot who we were talking to. Bob described it as democratic, and that's exactly what we saw. We saw the ball being distributed properly everywhere, and I think that was important. And we got to see Milroe, and big ups to Drew Lock, man. That first drive, he goes down there, tosses an interception, bounces back, goes down there, scores a touchdown, 12 of 22, 147 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. Also got to see Milroe as well, broke off a 27-yard gain, something I wanted to see using his feet, and also was decent throwing the football as well. It made me excited. G. Scott was just in here, and he was hyped about this squad, right? G. Scott got a little bit more energy than I do, and I shared the excitement, but I just do it a bit different than my man G. But, yeah, I am excited about this team and the possibilities. You still have to grow off of this. There were mistakes out there. Of course, no football game is perfect. And, yeah, the offense did what or showed me what I needed to see to be confident going into this next season and hopefully, or next game and hopefully into the regular season.
I want to talk about two things you mentioned as part of your response. One, Klint Kubiak. Two, Jalen Milroe. First, Mike Macdonald talking about the communication with Kubiak during the game.
Well, I think that's where Clint's leaning right now. I don't really have a preference either way. It's whatever he prefers. So, we'll kind of re-huddle here the next few days to see if he wants to try to give it a go upstairs or see what that feels like. So it's still kind of a work in progress. But I think, just as another play caller likes being on the field, you get a good feel for the game and personnel substitutions and situations, and then it's obviously awesome to the communication piece for guys when they're on and off the field is great. It's sometimes it's tough. Like today, AD was calling it, so I'm trying to talk to him to talk to the linebackers, and so you want to be direct to the players as much as you can.
We'll focus on the first part of that. At the end, he talks about and dirty and kind of his communication with him on the defensive side of things. Let's talk about Klint Kubiak. He talked about the communication, still working on refining, like how do we want to communicate with each other during games? Where do I want to overstep or maybe try to, keep Klint autonomous and, how am I figuring that out? Which is an interesting thing to talk about. But I'm also interested in what you saw from Klint Kubiak, the play caller.
As far as his style or his
just maybe
personality?
some things like again, we're so limited in what we saw so far, but did you like what you saw?
That's
did you
the thing.
feel excited about it?
I don't think we were limited. He showed a lot more than what people, I guess, could see if you're looking at it just for the first time.
Well, and I should say limited in that we aren't seeing what it looks like with a lot of the starters.
Yeah.
So you aren't seeing his plan for Sam and Cooper.
No, I don't think there is a plan for Sam and Cooper. I think he calls plays according to what the defense is giving him. I think last year is where you kind of got in trouble when you're trying to force the ball to DK. You're trying to get the ball to JSN. Towards it looks like Kubiak is just going to call plays according to what the defense is giving him. And in that manner, everybody's going to get the football. There will be times where, you got a matchup and you're going to attack a matchup. But I think that this offense is predicated on who's open according to what the defense is giving.
Right. I get what you're saying, though. You don't want to be too matchup dependent the way you were last year.
Last year was matchup dependent all day.
Well, it was kind of a college vibe.
Yeah, exactly. This seems like a more sophisticated type of approach, but you're right. We haven't even seen this offense yet with JSN, with MVS out there, with Cooper Kupp, with Ken Walker, with Zach Charbonnet. But it makes me believe that everybody's going to touch the football, and that's great. And I was interested to see him down on the football field because I feel like, at least for me, when I call plays, I love being up top. I can see what the box is doing. I can see what the secondary is doing. So with him being down on the field, it tells me a couple things. He wants direct communication with his quarterback, which I think is important. You can talk to a quarterback over the headset, but you still don't get the emotion and the feel out of your quarterback when you're looking him in his eye and you're down on the football field and you feel the football game. So also that tells me he trusts the guys upstairs. He has a good group of coaches that are going to relay him information. And this is preseason. It's not like they are completely trying to out-scheme and try to win this ball game. They're just matching personnel and going out there and trying to put their guys in the best position. But I love this demeanor. I like this play calling. I think there's some variety in four-down territory. I'm going to give you a bit more about what I saw in this play calling, but it felt like there was a flow and a purpose. So every play was connected. The formations were connected. The spacing was on point. I love the way they had more condensed formations. It allows the receivers to get wide releases, expand the defense, and create more passing lanes. It was fun to watch, even into the fourth quarter, man. I know a lot of people stopped watching once the guy from Wichita State gets out there that you don't know, but it was still fun for me to watch to try to understand what he's trying to do. We spent a lot on the offense. The defense was on point too. I know they scored 23 points. A lot of the points happened in the second half where you get a double move on a corner who's probably not going to make the ball team. But I love how Mike Macdonald was doing some things early, and then as the 2s, 3s, and 4s got in there, he kind of just made it nice and plain and vanilla and allowed these guys to make some plays. Defense looked good at times as well. Also,
I mentioned that players who have looked solid in practice were able to translate that into a preseason game, and that's always a plus, and Josh Jobe is one of those. He did have a penalty, had a couple moments. I mean, it's preseason, but obviously a few more big moments. He's looked really solid. I know you've talked about him a bit. I mentioned the second point I wanted to get to was Milroe. The 425 says Milroe did not look very good at all against third and fourth stringers. What the heck, man? Didn't even look fast.
I strongly disagree with that.
Why?
I disagree. He was 6 for 10 and had a couple design runs. One was for 27 yards. You don't break off a 27-yard gain in the NFL and not have a little burst to you. He looked like a guy who was developing. I don't know what you expected out of Milroe. I think we talked about it yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
Like, what are your expectations? I expect him to look like a guy who's trying to figure some things out. There are some things that I wanted to see from him. I wanted to see him look clean with his exchange from the center. I wanted him to exaggerate the play action, which I thought I saw. I wanted him to make quick decisions. His first throw was an out. He read the flat defender. He was out leveraged, so he throws it to the out route. There was another throw he had where a guy was sitting in the zone. He made that throw. There were a couple throws that he missed. There was a run that he had. He looked like a guy who had his first start in the NFL, not first start, but first kind of experience in the NFL, who is on a developmental program. So if you wanted him to come out and just tear it up, I think that your expectations were a bit too high. I don't think he looked like the starter tomorrow. He wasn't on some Russell Wilson type stuff to where he's going to be the guy. No, I think we went into this game knowing that he's going to have to develop. So I was okay with what I saw for his first game.
A couple other young guys looked really, really good. Torrey Horton being one of them. Yesterday, we were asking ourselves and listeners, who's one person you hope you're talking about on Friday? I am so glad that we're talking about Torrey Horton, and I can't believe we waited so long to get to just talking about him. You can see that he has looked really, really great in practice. We've been wondering aloud, is he your number 3 guy? Like, how much is he challenging MVS for that spot? You can tell early they were trying to target him. Granted, some of that's familiarity. Drew Lock's starting this game. He's working with the twos. He's got some practice some practice time in with Horton. But we also know that there was a lot of praise about Horton heading into this season. When we had Rob Staten on, I went back and listened to the interview from May. We had Rob Staten on a few months ago, and we asked him, hey, who's the steal? Who's the value pick in this draft? And he said, oh, it's Horton. Horton had an injury, and obviously being at Colorado State, just a background that probably kept him from being in the echelon of receivers that were from those Big Ten schools, from powerhouse offenses, maybe in the SEC or whatever. And he's like, he wins in so many ways. He was so great in that offense and kept them afloat despite them not having great quarterback play. And he had Torrey Horton as his steal of the draft. So there had been plenty of buzz, obviously, heading into camp, heading into this game. It's always cool when someone pays it off.
I'm not going to lie. When I was watching film on Torrey Horton, I saw potential, but I wasn't wowed like the way the Seahawks scout department probably was. So I think I probably got this one wrong. I thought he'd be a good receiver, but I didn't expect him to hit the ground running the way that he has. And what impressed me the most about Horton was just his twitch when he got the football. There are a lot of guys, especially I remember my first reception in the NFL. It was like you caught the football and it felt like you had 50 helmets staring at you right now, collapsing on you. Like it happened so fast. And with him, I didn't feel that. I didn't see that. He caught the football and got a field real quickly. The first time he touched the football, I believe, was in a punt return, and he spin moves, makes another guy miss. And when you see football players attacking defenses with the ball in their hands that way, that lets you know they just feel comfy out there. Like the game isn't too fast for them. And yes, you are playing against 2s and 3s at this point, but you want to look like that against 2s and 3s. And then there's his route running. I mean, he was tight at the top of his route. Like that's where you create the most separation, at the top of your route, snapping your hips down, accelerating away from the defender. I saw that as well. I think it's going to be a real battle for that number 3 spot. I still think MVS gets the nod initially, and I think that's the way you should approach that situation because MVS is proven. But again, you bring Horton along, sprinkle him in. I'm starting to get really excited about this receiver room.
I know you have more to say about what you saw on offense and defense. We're going to get to it at 11:50.